My name's Ken Norman and welcome to this channel. On this channel, we cover all things freedom related. And today we're talking about one of the things most dear to my heart, and that's smashing anxiety, fear, depression, PTSD head on. Well before I was in the military, well before I was in Iraq, driving by roadside bombs, rocking our vehicles, shooting debris all over the place. Before all of this, I was dealing with PTSD. And here's the truth. Everyone does on some level. And how do we respond to this? For me, I just ran from situations that made me feel any certain way, made me feel uncomfortable, would rise the freeze, fight, or flight responses. And where did that get me? Fast forward a few years later, I learn about PTSD. I see how these triggers that we have, these deep rooted emotional triggers that we all have in some way. And in a lot of these situations, I would run from the moment that would make me feel uncomfortable. And I'm not alone with this. All humans are this way in some facet. We're naturally wired to be this way. We resist pain and we're attracted to pleasure. This is the same reason why gyms aren't as full as they should be and people are smashing sugar on a regular basis because we resist doing something that's uncomfortable. We resist the work and we want that instant gratification. This is just natural, it's biological. Anyhow, how does that show up in our lives? What's it look like if you resist going to the gym and you just smash, chocolate donuts all day long? Doesn't look too good, does it? Although we don't think about how this applies when it comes to emotional health or PTSD, anxiety, depression, fear. We don't think about how that shows up in our lives. My journey really started when I got out of the military. I got out of what was comfortable for me, being in the military, comfortable paycheck, into this world of uncertainty. I had so much anxiety getting out of the military that it was ridiculous. But I knew if I re-enlisted, I'd be selling myself short. I'd be selling my dreams short. And I chose anxiety and fear over a certain comfortability that I knew was going to protect me throughout my life. Even though it could put me going to war, I was protected in the sense that I had steady income and no matter what, I was taken care of. Thank God that I made this decision. It was so scary. It provoked so much emotions inside of me. My body was all tense. But on the other side, I realized it wasn't that bad. It wasn't what it was projected to be, that I was okay. Later on, I'd be driving down the road and I'd see trash and like dead animals and stuff like that, and it would provoke this fear in me. And I realized that this trash, like, I'm in the United States, I'm safe. This isn't gonna explode. I'm totally safe. But yet I still had this emotional trigger. I was still owned by this. So what I chose to do was lean into it. I would drive my car and lean into the trash. And of course, nothing happened, no explosions. Time and time again, I would do this. I would rinse and repeat. And now, today, yeah, I might notice trash on the side of the road, but there's zero emotional trigger. There's zero response. I don't think about, freeze, fight, or flight. My body doesn't have these responses of breaking out in cold sweats. We all have this, not just veterans. I was having this before I even got in the military. This showed up in other areas of my life. When it came to really beautiful women, I would get around beautiful women and I would stutter and act so weird, and this uncomfortability would just radiate from me. I'd be like, why is it every time I get around this girl or someone who's like this girl, every time there's someone that I'm massively drawn to, I get weird, I get uncomfortable, I radiate this energy. Even these jokes that I've had for years that are canned material, if you will, canned jokes, I would, stumble and fuck up and the delivery would be so wrong. Like everything, and I would resist these girls so much that I would get away from them. Couldn't even make eye contact. I couldn't be myself. And as a result, I would resist women that I was drawn to. After a while, I seen how ridiculous this was. I seen how this pattern was controlling me. And from taking massive action, I went ahead and started going out on a regular basis every single night. Never wanted to. I never wanted to go out because I knew it was gonna be uncomfortable. I knew I had to face rejection. I knew I had to smash the fear. But I did it anyways, time and time again. What was the result? As time went on, I stopped caring. I stopped needing positive responses from women. I started just being myself unapologetically, and guess what happened? Women were drawn to me. The same type of women that were rejecting me in the past were now, girls I was dating. Why? Because I was willing to take action in the sense of fear. Me being a combat veteran, it's no different than a civilian. No different. We have these deep emotional triggers that go back as far as childhood, that, these pain responses and how they show up in our lives. Now, we can either be a slave to these or we can own these. We can either take medication to numb us or we can take action to overcome it. Another spoiler alert, this never changes. We replace this fear that we once had and driving by roadside trash to now shooting videos. You can see in this video alone, I'm stuttering on my words. I'm caring too much about how I'm gonna be perceived. This is probably like the 6th take where I'm stumbling on my own name on the delivery on the open itself. You don't see that because I cut that out completely, but it's so painful for me. But what's the alternative? In 2020, I went into the VA and I started getting help, and I walked in cold brash. I had a certain idea of what therapy was. And when I walked in to see my therapist for the first time, I said, I'm not taking any pills. I don't care what you say, I'm not taking any pills. And he said, that's good, because I'm not a doctor and I can't prescribe pills. And even if I could, I'm not gonna do that. I wouldn't do that to limit you. In this moment, I realized I was in good company. He started talking about triggers, emotional triggers, stuff that I was already aware of. He started talking about, the war and, driving by roadside trash. And I told him about my experience and he was blown away that I was able to do that on my own. I was already on this path of freedom without me even knowing it. Do I still have depression? Yes, I do. Do I still have anxiety? Of course. But I don't let it control me. These videos, right now, they're super hard for me. But I know this. In time, it's gonna be like that trash on the side of the road. It's gonna be like the pretty women that I resisted. In time, I'm gonna flow so naturally that when people watch my videos, they're gonna think I never had any issues to begin with when it comes to being in front of the camera. But it'll just be replaced with new fears. As we expand, as we grow, that anxiety, that fear, it's just these new issues that we can't even see from the vantage point that we're on right now. I can't wait to see what my future holds. I can't wait to see how this fear manifests in other forms. I can't wait to see how I smash this anxiety, fear, depression in different ways. All right, now I want to turn this to you. In what ways does PTSD show up in your life? How do you have these freeze, fight or flight responses? What do you do when you have them? In these situations, do you clam up? Do you stop making eye contact? Do you look for the exit? Do you do this time and time again? After these situations, do you find yourself in the fetal position in bed, depressed, whipping yourself? Do you find yourself going to alcohol, drugs to try and numb? Or TV, sex? There's a lot of different numbing agents. Do you find yourself going to those? What would it be like if you were free of all that? What would it be like if you owned the circumstances and they didn't own you? How would this manifest in other areas in your life? And ultimately, how high could you rise?